Hey there, Dangar Stu here. Today's video is on what to do if the speedometer on your outboard motor stops working, but the gauge itself is still lit up, has power, etc., but you're just showing 0 knots wherever you go. I didn't really plan to do today's video. It ended up being a bit impromptu because I had a boat come into the shop that has this problem, so I thought I'd take the opportunity to film it. So I apologise if it's a little bit scrappy, but it's only a short one, so bear with me. The outboard on this boat that's having this trouble is a Yamaha 60 AET, but a lot of outboards use a very similar mechanism, particularly the rest of the Yamaha range. To get better access to the part of this outboard that's causing the problem, I'm just going to trip it up. So if we come down here to the gearbox, and if we come to the water intake here and level with that top of the water intake, we come to the leading edge, you'll see there's just a really small aperture right on the leading edge here of the gearbox, and that's where the water goes into as you're travelling through the water, and the pressure that water creates is what the speedo translates into an estimate of how fast you're going through the water. That's a very small little aperture and gets blocked really easily. So what we're going to do now is unblock that. As with a telltale, there's lots of tools you could use to unblock this, but what I've got here is just a drill bit inside a sort of a pencil collet. I've just got a little 1mm drill bit in this, but about a 1.5 is actually perfect if you can find one, and you can see how much junk's coming out of this. Hopefully I'll see if I can zoom you in a little bit. This drill bit's just starting to free up now, and you can see some fluids coming out, so it's obviously unblocked now. And you can see how far it goes in, almost, well, pretty much the entire length of this drill bit, so probably about 40mm or something. That's definitely unblocked now. So the next thing I'm going to do is put a bit of compressed air into that hole to clear it out completely now that the bulk of the blockage is away. You just need to be really careful that you never do this with the hose connected to the actual gauge, because if you do, that gauge is very, very sensitive. They're quite small, subtle pressure differences that equate to the various speeds on the speedo, and they're nowhere near the amount of pressure that an air gun like this will put through it. So make sure you never do that. It's kind of the big no-no here. But what we will do is disconnect that little tubing that comes from that hole up to the speedo, and that way we've got no chance of damaging the sensor in the speedo. From the outboard leg here, you'll see this flexible hose going up, and this is just a hollow tube. Quite often there's a joiner right here, but on this particular boat the joiner's round here at the tilt tube. So here, I'll just see how tight this is. There we go, that's disconnected. So this clear tube is the one that goes up to the speedometer on the dashboard. It's not always clear, of course, just is in this case. And this is the one going down to the foot of the outboard that connects with that aperture we just cleared out using the drill bit. So I'm going to go down to the bottom and blow some compressed air into that little aperture we cleared out, and we'll see if anything comes out here. So I could see a bit of fluid here, so I'm guessing that's now clear through if that came out. So we'll put this back together and give it a test on the water. Now, although this is the most common cause of this problem, is getting that little aperture blocked up, it's a bit like, I guess, a pitot tube on an aircraft if you're watching the air crash investigation. That's where I found out about them anyway. But it's not the only thing that can go wrong. Obviously, any sort of break in that hose, it means that pressure's never going to reach the gauge, or even some sort of split in the hose will stop that full pressure reaching the gauge. So if you find that it's reading a lower speed, maybe look at just replacing that hose if you've found this to be completely clear. The hose on this boat looks a little bit affected by petrol, or perhaps even a little bit of perishing from being in the sun, so it's not a bad idea to put a bit of fresh hose every now and then if you do rely a lot on that speedo. So these speedos work very similar to pitot tubes in aircraft. If you watch any air crash investigation or anything like that, you've probably heard of those. And they work by measuring the pressure. So as the boat moves forward through the water, the water coming into that aperture compresses the air in the line and then sends that pressure up to the speedo at the dash, and that's where you get your reading. The important thing to be aware of with those is they don't give you speed over ground, they give you speed through the water. So if you're heading into a current, your speed will say it's higher than it really is, and if you're flowing with a current, it'll say your speed's lower than it really is. So if you're looking for an accurate indication of your speed, I recommend using a GPS, but these speedos come standard with a lot of boats, so why not keep it working? All right, let's get out in the water and do that test now. The kookaburras are going to bed now. Unfortunately, with winter coming, it's getting dark pretty early now. This morning that was giving absolutely no reading at all. Now it actually seems reasonably accurate. So, sorry about the dim light, but we'll wrap it up here. I think we can call that a success. So, it goes to show, more often than not, you know, I'd actually say 9 out of 10 times, it really is just that little aperture, the little inlet blocked, and it's not hard to clear out. Well, thanks for watching. Just a short one today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it helps you if you're having this problem. If it did, please rate, comment and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time. See ya.